Hey guys, and welcome to the Garage Athlete Show. Tonight I'm joined by the lovely Daniel Fraser. We're on episode 62 now, I do believe. I just got the episode 61 edited and uploaded. And hopefully, if this doesn't take too long, I'm probably going to try and get tonight's one done as well straight away, so I don't have to think about it tomorrow. So, how are you, sir? It's been a little while. I'm loving all of you that are listening on the audio only version. Make sure you check out the YouTube channel so you can see Dan's stylish headset. It's very. I think everybody is going to want one moving forward. That's what's the name of the show, the stylish. Stylish
some kind
Claudia
of
headphones.
Amazon special, I think. But I needed a set of wired headphones because I've been doing basically I've been linking my drums through to my laptop using MIDI samples out of the studio. But I was finding with the Bluetooth headphones there was lag, so you'd hit the drum and it'd go. So you go tap, and then you go that. It was really fucking annoying. And the only pair of wired headphones I got in the house are these. So I'm now doing death metal drumming with sparkly blue headphones on, which is nice.
I was going to say, like, if that is not going to say I am truly a psychopath, then I don't know what else is.
Absolutely, man. But yeah,
how are you getting on with the drumming? Did you have because last time we spoke, you were about to do your first gig. So how did that go?
Yeah, I've done 2 gigs now. It's been really good, actually.
Oh, nice.
It's definitely the highlight of my life. I've transferred all my gym craziness of buying everything into drums again. So yeah, it's been really good, actually. Having a lot of fun with it. And then training wise, I'm not really doing anything. Like, just life with the twins is too hard. So anyone that tells you, oh, my kids are excuse, maybe. But if you've got twins amongst other things, yes, there's an excuse. Like, I'm doing fuck all. I go fits and starts.
But it's also okay because you're saying, well, it's okay to say that. What winds me off is when people say, "I just don't have time." And it's
that's it. I'm very aware. I'm choosing to use my time differently. I have the time, but at the same time, when I've had,
it's not a priority for you right now.
2 kids screaming in my ear for an hour and a half, and it's 8 o'clock at night, and I need to train. And to be honest, my shoulder, my knees, and my back are fucked. And I'm like, what is the point in lifting? It's digging more of a hole. So I don't want to do it, and I'm choosing not to. And then, even in terms of priorities and all that, even if it was like, it's not the investment in myself would be at the detriment of my family. I would have to really pull back. If with 1 kid, totally fine. With 2 kids, I've had it when Maz has been out with one of them, totally fine. I would say you could 100% do it. With twins, both at once, it's one of those things you can't explain it unless you've had it.
They're getting to that age where they're starting to move around and stuff now, aren't they?
Yeah,
so you can't be sat there doing stuff and they just sat playing. Like, they're starting to move around. They're starting to get into stuff. Like, having 1 at that age was bad enough, but having 2 at the exact same age, yeah, I can imagine your nerves are frazzled all the time.
Yeah, it's just I don't know if it's just.
I'm just gonna grab a brew.
I can't explain it. For people that have twins that are listening to the podcast, you guys know what the crack is. For other people, they're incredible, but they are pretty life-changing. I'm very lucky. Put it this way, I'm very lucky I work from home. Like, we don't have any family up here or anything. There's no help, so I feel very blessed that I can be at home to help so much. And I guess
I would 100% agree about the work from home.
Anyway, yes.
It's things like half term this week. Like, I'm able to be here to look after the kids because Josh is only 11 and probably left in the house on his own. And then Willow's off on whatever days. I was just thinking, when she's at school, etc., must be a nightmare for people when they are working, because it's like, right, it's half term. Do I now book all my annual leave for when the kids are on annual leave? So then essentially I just spend my annual leave in childcare.
Or the system is shit. It doesn't make sense for everyone.
No. Well, we just got our thing through from nursery. So we do the extended nursery where she only goes 3 days rather than 5. So, because it's the extended hours, we get some term times covered. some holidays covered, because she's only doing the hours are split differently or whatever. But like they're not covered for like between Christmas and New Year, which is fine because we can just have the kids at home. I'm probably going to have them at home anyway. But it's things like there's 3 weeks in the summer holiday that I'll cover. Like if I was just working, it'd be an absolute nightmare if I didn't have childcare for those 3 weeks, or you end up having to pay full price for kind of those 3 weeks. So we'll probably end up taking her out one of those weeks anyway to kind of go on holiday. And then the other 2, it might be right. You're only going to nursery like once or twice because it's going to cost us £400 for this month or whatever it is. The nursery costs are astronomical.
Yeah, it's not fun. But anyway,
that's going to be fun for you when you get to nursery age.
No, we've already got. No, we're going childminders because I'm not paying over £1,000 a month for nursery like that. So yeah, we're childminders.
Childminders much better rate then.
Yes, about half the price of what we pay.
Fair enough.
That, yeah. So
you are up north, aren't you?
Yeah, it's not bad up here. There's a reason I kind of stay here. It's it is a bit more affordable, but it's just meant I'm not leaving anytime soon. Anyway, so you're 9 days out.
Yes, I am 9 days out from the Two Bros Maidenhead show. So that's down in London. With Two Bros, they have athlete registration the day before, but the show starts at like 9 a.m. Whereas before, I had to get to athlete registration for 9, 10 o'clock. The show didn't start till 11, 12 o'clock. I should be finished by lunchtime, which will be interesting. But like, I was meant to be competing with, so obviously I've got my coach, Jake. He's got 4 or 5 guys he's coaching at the moment. Like originally, 3 of us. So Jake was meant to be competing, Josh, and then one of the girls. Like all 3 of them have just ended their preps early, and I started my diet like earlier than all of them. So I was just like, oh, okay, I'm the last man standing, am I? But yeah, it's gonna be exciting. Like, to put it in perspective, since my last show, where I thought I was in as good a condition as the first time I competed, I've dropped another 3.5 kilos. So what's that? £7. Like when I say I'm conditioned, I'm in ridiculous condition where like everything is striated. Like I've not weighed 67 kilos since I was like 18. Like I've dropped
67 kilos.
67 kilos. I was 83 at the peak.
You're gonna blow over in the wind, mate.
When my missus is holding Willow, she weighs more than me now.
Dude, you must look like no, you don't want to hear that. 67. Okay.
67
cool.
kilos.
I will not be mean. 67. Well done. Good stuff.
So yeah, it's total of 16. I'll probably drop another half a kilo by the time we start peak week depleting. So we started depletion yesterday, which is where you drain the glycogen out. So I dropped my carbs by another 40 grams. So over the next 3 or 4 days, we basically just completely drain the muscles of glycogen. And then from like Monday, Tuesday next week, we slowly feed them up. So from like Monday or Tuesday, we're like, right, you've got an extra 100 grams of carbs. And then the next day we'll take more photos and right, put an extra 150 grams of carbs in. And then last time it went 100, 150, 150, 200. And then, right, we're just going to leave it there from the day before. So, and then salt and water was just pretty standardized to like 9 p.m. the night before. But I think this time I'll probably stop because I'm competing earlier in the morning. I didn't really dry out till lunchtime last time because obviously I'd been to the toilet then 2 or 3 times before I competed. But because I'm competing at like 9, 10 a.m., I'll probably stop drinking late afternoon, like 6, 7 o'clock, and then just let nature take its course in terms of weeing out. And obviously being natural, I can't take any diuretics or anything.
Is there any like natural diuretics you would take?
Alcohol.
Oh yeah, some guys have red wine, don't they?
So yeah, a glass of wine. I'll probably take to a double of rum and something like that's got no calories in it, so rum and sparkling water or something along those lines. The wine just didn't agree with me last time. I had a glass of white wine, just because there's so much sugar. It just it just didn't agree with me. So I had a bit of gas basically that night, but it was gone by the next day. So yeah, I'm going to try some. I bought some rum for my birthday in July. I've got two bottles of the stuff sat on top of my thing. I had one rum and ginger beer, I think it was, on the night after my show, with my massive pizza, and that's it. That's probably the only alcohol that I've had in like 8 months.
Cool.
Fun times of being a bodybuilder, but I'm ready for prep to be finished now. Like, I'm at a point now where mentally I'm just spent.
I can imagine it's been pretty tough. Twice over as well.
Problem being, if I do as well as I'm hoping to do, I'll probably have to push now till the end of November. But with us being so lean, I'm hoping we don't go back into a deficit. I hope we'll basically start the reversing out process. So that then you come in like a little bit fuller. It's maintaining that really low body fat level without putting on too much, but slowly increasing the food up into a show so that you can be getting yourself to more of a normal eating pattern. I want to be eating fairly normally again by Christmas. So if I don't compete till the end of November, my calories are probably going to do a couple of big jumps up, just try and get some body fat on me quite quickly so that I don't spike like 6 kilos on Christmas Day or whatever. But I'm 100% keeping my coach like through the off season this time. I wasted from November to August. So what's that? 8-9 months. I got too fat. Like, I didn't really have a proper structure to my training. Like, my relationship with food was ruined for a good 6 months before I was back in a place where I could then train hard again. So yeah, I've decided I'm going to keep my coach on this time. Have a really productive off season. So I get married in April as well, so I can't really afford to get like really fat. Have a really, really productive off season, and then in 2023, I'll do another prep. And I'm going to say it out loud. I want to push for pro status in 2023. Like, I've shown that I've got the genetics, I've got a good structure, I can get lean enough. I just need to add on a couple more kilos of muscle. If I'm 67.5 kilos on stage, not on stage, 67.5 kilos at my lightest, I can afford to put on like a kilo or 2 kilos more muscle to fill out the under 70 kilos category and still come in like peeled. And then there's no reason why I can't be a very, very competitive under 70 kilos bodybuilder. Oh, I think you've muted. Oh, or is your microphone come out? Still can't hear you. You've not broken Claudia's headphones, have you? Because you're not muted. If you go to where it says mute, there's a little arrow. If you click up on that, you can then select a different microphone. So you could get the laptop's microphone.
Right, is that working? Yeah, it was not muted. Something happened there. I think because I've got this what do you call it? That studio thing on in the background. I think it plays with it sometimes. Basically, it transfers the audio over to that. But I heard everything you were saying though, as in you're over to getting that pro thing. So I see no reason why you can't get that. Sounds good. Sounds exciting.
Yeah, well, there's something to push on for. Like, I went into that last show at maybe 80% of my true max potential. and I was turning heads, and I was very close to getting in an invite there. So going in now at 95, 100% of my maximum potential, I want to come away with an invite. Like, that's what I'm going there to do, regardless of whether it happens or not. Like, I'm not emotionally tied into it, but I'm going there to make a statement and to go, you know what, I deserve to be up on this stage. And if it happens, great. If it doesn't, I know I've given my 100% into this prep. I've come in, I've dieted to, there's no more that I can give if the judges don't like me on that day. It's a subjective sport, so it is what it is. However, when I come back in 2 years' time, I don't want to just be up there in the mix. Like, I want to be up there winning categories and going in for overalls. And there's, as I said before, there's no reason why I can't do that, like, as a natural, because I'll be 32. I'll have the muscle maturity that tends to happen at that stage. I think bodybuilders tend to hit their like peak between like 32 to like 38, 40. So I'm going to be in my prime. I just need a couple more years to chisel it. And then I think I will be able to be up there another 2 years. With the amount of progress I've made in the last 2 years in working with a proper coach who knows the sport as well as he does, like, what I can do in another 2, I don't want to put a limitation on it.
Sounds good. Very exciting.
Mm-hmm. Right, shall we get some questions done? Yeah. So those lovely people in the group, they put out a question box. It took a little while for things to get going, but we've had a few questions come through. Let's see if I can find it. I will tag you in it when I find it. So yes, if you're listening to this and you are part of the Home Gyms group, like, I'm trying to put out a question box once a month, so we can get one of these Q&As in. I think we've got a guest for next week, which is good. We'll try and get guests on. We'll try and speak about things, but we'll also put question boxes up semi-regularly so that you guys can be interacting with the podcast as well. So Joseph Level, has been a while since I listened, saw the episode list and noticed highlighted chat on hard thumbing in softies and favorite sex toys. So yes, those clickbait titles have been working a treat. Last time I listened, you guys were talking about half versus full reps, macro splits, and adjustable versus full dumbbell sets. Guess the show has evolved. Yes, it has, and it's all Rachel's fault. I blame Rachel for that evolution. Do you?
Well, so obviously once she's come in, there's been a change in what we're talking about.
100%. We're only messing, Rachel. But yeah, it's just boys will be boys. We just end up going off on weird tangents.
You can't say that these days, Dom.
How can you not? Oh no,
what's terrible thing to
that
say.
hashtag me too.
Don, you're gonna get me too, but it's just a conversation,
Yes, exactly. If you would sat in a locker room, like this is generally what
locker, mate. You sound just like Donald Trump, mate. Grab her by the pussy, right? In Don Trump's sweeting.
Oh dear. So
moving swiftly.
Roger Pegg has had what's the benefits of trap bar for deadlifts over a barbell?
Is this to build your deadlift or to do deadlifts?
He's just said, what's the benefits of a trap bar for deadlifts?
All right. Well, if you're talking about for a traditional deadlifts, fuck all, like, don't do it. If you're talking about athletic performance, or you just want to get that kind of movement pattern, yeah, they can be fantastic. Less shear on the spine, more upright posture. You can use a bit more quad leg drive if you're sort of keeping that upright position, easier to learn. So yeah, it's a great option. I would say it is a preferred option for most people, but if you're going to use it to build your deadlift, fuck right off.
Yeah, so it's not transferable at all. The movement pattern is more of a squat than a deadlift. If you look at where people set up, it's more of a squatting position. The reason why a lot of people like it is neutral grip. So it's not that forearm.
You can lift fucking loads on them as well.
You can lift loads on them because it's more like you're leg pressing the weight away from you rather than kind of a traditional kind of like pulling movement. Generally, people have poor hip mobility, So doing a conventional deadlift, you often see the anterior pelvic tilt then causing them to round their lower back, and it's very, very hard without kind of doing lots and lots of mobility work to kind of get around that when you're kind of like first starting out in the gym. So for me, I used to use a trap bar deadlift a lot with beginners, especially on their first program, because they can, as Dan said, they can learn it much quicker. We can load it up quickly because you're in a much safer position, easier to keep your shoulders back, easier to keep your back straight, which just means that for somebody who's just starting out in the gym that wants to lose a bit of weight and gain some muscle, like they don't need to be conventional deadlifting. However, if you want to have a strong deadlift, you need to deadlift. So it's one of those things that, well, I'm coaching Roger at the moment. Like, I've put trap bar deadlifts in there because you have bad knees. That's why they're in there.
Why would a traditional deadlift upset his knees?
Pardon?
Why would a traditional deadlift upset his knees?
It doesn't. It's just he's never really been coached on a proper deadlift form. So it was more about, we can't load up a squat movement pattern because of his knees. So a trap bar deadlift doesn't seem to set it off, whatever the issue is, and we can load that exercise up quicker.
So the trap bar is more to replace the squat.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I understand.
Yeah. And piggyback on this question, to what extent is the trap bar easier? Is there a quantifiable difference, i.e. people can generally lift, say, 10% more on a trap bar?
Oh, holy fuck, man. Come on. It's like, it's obvious, but good. Like, I think I could probably lift 360 on a trap bar. Like, it's higher up. It's an upright position. You're not having to hinge as much. You don't need as much posterior chain. Like, you can lift tons on a trap bar. Whether it's 10%, I don't know. I don't know the exact percentage, but
it's a lot more.
It's a hell of a lot more. Like, it's just it's
probably
not
more
even the
than
same
10%.
movement. It's insane amounts more. Like, we're talking kilos, kilos. But like I'll be honest, no one cares what you trap deadlift. Like, it doesn't.
No.
It's not a thing. It's not a thing.
transfer
It's like a
across.
leg. To me, it's like the leg press of deadlifting. Like, yes, it's good. It's a great tool. It can be fucking brilliant for building slabs of muscle, conditioning, getting you a pattern in, having a great workout. I do think they are really good, but it's not comparable to the traditional deadlift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it ever worth just powering through mild shoulder pain and clicks? So me and Rachel asked a few more questions on here. So he is seeing a physio about it. It actually disappears over the session, but then aches again the day after with no training. Lateral movements and any push movements barring decline bench. I'm doing physio to strengthen the area, and I'm sure it's caused by poor mobility. Squats aggravate it, and then the push movements are where the real pain is. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably a 4 at worst. The clicking is off-putting, though. It sounds like a mobility issue to me. If getting into a squatting position here aggravates it, we're not physios, so it's very, very hard for us to kind of give advice on this. It seems like you're doing the right thing in terms of seeing a physio about it. It might be worth getting a second opinion, just because strengthening the area, they're focusing more on strengthening the shoulder. To me, it sounds like it might be an issue actually at your scapula, so probably a little bit lower. So there might be a mobility issue around your shoulder blades, which I was having issues in my shoulder, and it turned out basically one of my ribs was locked. So I had to go to, I can't remember what qualification he had, but he went and basically popped my rib. I literally felt it pop. That meant my shoulder blade could then move, and the pain pretty much disappeared like overnight. So it might not necessarily be muscle related. It might be something in your chain, like not being quite in place. So I don't know whether that'd be an osteopath or I'd say a chiropractor, but they tend to just be like people that just pop you rather than actually kind of any benefit to it. But yeah, maybe go see an osteopath. An osteopath tends to be a protected term, so people can't call themselves an osteopath without a proper like qualification, etc. Just get a second opinion that's not just soft tissue based. It might be joint based by the sounds of it. Anything you want to add to that, Dan?
Yeah, a little bit of pain is fine. If it doesn't go, if it gets worse as you keep going, yeah, you need to get it looked at. If it's like a bit of mild pain and discomfort, I mean, name me anyone that's been training for 10, 15 years that doesn't have a bit of mild pain and discomfort. But
Yeah.
if it's getting worse and starting to sap strength from you when you train, then it's a big problem that you need to get it fixed.
Yeah. Okay, this one should spark a little bit of a debate because me and you seem to have differing opinions on this. So similar to what I asked last time, though, I think it is fundamentally different. Is it possible to gain strength, not muscle, in a deficit? And if so, what are the most important things to achieving this while cutting? I'll let you go first.
If we're talking about absolute strength, which I think you are, then no, it's not a good option. If you want to have a big squat, a big deadlift, bench, and that kind of stuff, if you're in a deficit and in a deficit for a long time to get some decent fat loss, I'm talking 3 months plus, you're not going to get stronger. If anything, I do think you're going to get weaker. If you're talking short term, like a month, 6 weeks, it's fine. It won't make a difference. I mean, if we're talking accessory movements, yeah, you might get stronger, but that's not, to me, what strength is. Strength is, your 1 rep max, your 3 rep max on a sort of big compound lift. You'll probably end up getting better at chin ups because you lose body fat. So you probably actually get stronger in that, well, stronger. But like, no, there's a reason power lifters, strength athletes don't spend their life in a deficit because it doesn't get you strong. Being a deficit is good short term to, strip fat recomp, that's great. But if you truly want to build your strength, it just makes no sense to be in a calorie deficit. Like the worst thing I get is when a client comes to me wanting to, I want to be really strong, but I want to be really jacked, lean at the same time. It's like, it's not going to happen. It will happen eventually, and you have to focus on different things at different times to get there. But I don't think getting stronger is adding a few kilos to your sets of 10, your sets of 12. I just think you've kind of got better at that rep range. If you were testing your reps in 5 and lower when you're in a deficit for a long time, you're not going to get stronger. Even if you did, think about it. If you fueled yourself properly for getting strong, think how much more strength you would have gained. It's
That's going to be
insane
something
amounts.
I'll
It was a joke. I added hang on, 60 kilos to my deadlift in a year when I went in a calorie surplus, and I did 2 seconds. Yeah, 60 kilos to my squat. It's probably 75 kilos to my squat, and then 30 kilos to my bench in a year. Well, around about a year or so, probably a bit longer. I mean, I don't train really at the moment, so it doesn't matter. But purely from being in a surplus and training hard, but I was in a deficit for about a year or so. Got a little bit stronger, maybe a touch, but not really.
I think, as you said, I think it's the wording on this question. Me and you have thought about it in slightly different ways. So, with you thinking about absolute strength, like 5 reps or less, I would 100% agree with that. As you said, there's a reason why strongmen and powerlifters, like especially kind of like at the high end, they don't really bother with watching their body composition at all, because spending that time in a deficit takes away from their ability to build that maximum strength. Now, whether you're talking about somebody in their home gym that is wanting to lose a bit of fat but kind of get stronger, and on that accessory work, there's a couple of factors that come into it. Number one is, are you truly getting your maximum strength out when you start that new program? There's a lot of, as Dan said, neurological adaptation that goes on when you're within any sort of training program. Within the first 6 weeks, you'll see your strength go up as you just get better at those movements being back in there, as you've practiced them. There's a something called neurological plasticity. So if you don't squat for a year and then you go back to squatting, you'll have lost quite a bit of that strength just because the movement pattern isn't as well ingrained. However, when you've squatted for like 6 weeks, you'll have noticed your strength has gone back up very, very quickly. It's nothing to do with muscle mass and it's nothing to do with like absolute strength. It's all to do with neurologically, you're just getting better at that movement pattern again. So I know for me personally, like when I started dieting, my numbers in my logbook would just continue to go up, even though my calories were kind of starting to come down. And again, it's right. Have I maxed out this exercise? Am I truly using all the muscle fibers that are actually firing, or am I just neurologically getting better than when I was before? And what Dan mentioned there as well is when you go into a deficit, you tend to eat better quality foods. So if you're in a surplus, but you're getting, say, 40% of your food from processed sources that have got extra hydrogenated fats in there, they've got extra salt in there, they've got a load of stuff in there that your body doesn't process very well. It can make you sluggish and it can mean that you're not performing at a 100%. When you go into a diet initially, you're probably going to clean up your diet quite a lot and get rid of a lot of that junk, which will probably be one of the reasons why you see performance jump up to start off with. Just because it's like when you fuel a car, if you put better quality fuel in the car, it's going to work better. However, if you slowly decrease the amount of fuel that's going in there, it's only going to work so much better before you kind of start to run into problems. The same thing with your body. If you put better quality food in there, it's going to initially work better. But if you start pulling that food out, the longer you're in a deficit, the harder it is then going to be for it to kind of run at like top capacity.
I don't know, like strongest I've ever been is when I ate whatever I wanted all the time. Weakest I've ever been is when I've cleaned my diet up. Like I kind of think calories is calories when you're a strength athlete. You should see the diet strength athletes. It's just they don't give a shit. Like the
Really?
people are paying attention to it now. But like the strongest I've ever been in my life has been when I've not bothered about protein, just get plenty of carbs. I mean, I'm still probably eating like 200 a day. Like I'm still eating a fair amount, but like it's just not. I don't know. I think nutrition is vital for body comp and health. For strength, I'm still on the fence about that one. I think you can eat for strength, absolutely, but I think nutrition is more for a body comp, health, and longevity point of view. But the thing I'd be interested in is if I would have wanted you to test your 3RM, 5RM squat, or 1RM squat, bench, deadlift, shoulder press, I don't know, fucking dip, or row, whatever you do, and then test it now when you're deep in your what do you call it? Like
Prep.
weighing 67 kilos, whatever. And I'd be very interested to see the difference. But that's kind of where I see its strength. I think you can build yourself on accessories and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, I'm not
I
I'm not
completely
convinced that.
agree. So
Yeah.
the big compound exercises for me, anything that needs stabilization. So my dumbbell chest press, for example, has gone from me pushing to get the 45s up for say 6 to 10 to now having to drop down to like 30s, 35s just because it's so unstable and I don't want to injure myself.
Yeah, but then
Whereas like
I say unstable, but it's a weakness as well. Like you've lost strength because you've
yeah,
got so cut. But that's fine because no one cares what you lift when you're on stage, right? Who gives a shit?
yeah.
It doesn't matter what you
But
lift.
then the difference is on my Smith machine bench press, where everything is
Yeah,
very, very stable. I'm still
yeah,
using 100 kilos on there.
yeah. So, but you say
So
you're still using, but have you gone up to 120
no,
kilos on that? Well,
no, my
there you
strength
go. Like,
hasn't increased. Yeah,
well, that's what I mean. Like, it's great that you've maintained it. That is a massive win in itself, and a great sign that you've retained a lot of muscle. But if we're saying, oh, have you gotten stronger? I would argue,
no,
no,
yeah,
you haven't.
no,
Whereas,
you are right
I
there.
mean, that's my thinking on the whole thing. Whereas I bet if you did pull-ups or dips, you'd be there all day, right? Like crushing them out.
Yeah,
And I bet, like,
yeah.
stuff like
What
curls
with
and
16 kilos off me?
yeah,
Yeah,
you'd be fucking going all day and do that. And I know the moment you come out of your deficit, you'll get a lot stronger. But
oh yeah,
I think that this is where people go wrong. They want everything at once. and especially natural guys as well, they want everything at once. It's not going to happen. You have to do different things at different times. Like sometimes the first things you do with a big fat guy who wants to get really strong is, right, you're going on a diet, you need to cut up, you need to improve your insulin sensitivity, you need to improve your work capacity, you need to get this weight down before we build back up. And they look at you like you just sort of, shot their dog or something. Yeah. And it's like the same with people sometimes where they're like, all right, I need to drop loads of fat. And it's like, no, you don't. You need to build muscle. I remember that. I've forgotten his name now, the Scottish lad we had on. He was like, why would anyone at a young age be working on dropping fat? They have to be working on just getting bigger, getting stronger, getting stronger. And I agreed with them on that. Spend the whole time improving strength and muscle mass, because then when you lean up, you're going to look much better for it. But you have guys who it's not necessarily what they want to hear, but they'll recome, which fine, and they'll drop lots of weight, but they won't really look any different, even though they're 20 kilos lighter. And they just won't. It just takes time. But like you say, that muscle maturity comes of years of training. I almost think guys that have spent their whole life trying to be really fucking strong, when they then switch over to getting really lean, they look much better than the guys who've been really conscious. And they're guys and girls who have been really conscious of being, I can't be this bad, I've got to do this and that. I think they look better when they go the other way. Because I think when sort of skinny, lean people try and be really strong after being in a deficit for so long, I think it doesn't work as well. From what, this is all anecdotally. I don't have proof of this. I've got nothing in writing, but that's just kind of how I viewed it. I've gone off a tangent here. But yeah, simply put, I don't think the reason I say no, and I sort of say it in a big sort of capital no, is because I don't want people trying to do both, almost like
doing both is a bad idea. Well, it's one of the reasons why I have a building phase and a cutting phase. Like,
it's the reason why every bodybuilder's done it for tons of years, because it's the best way of doing it. Like
100%.
Yeah, but then you should be looking to maintain strength, increase strength on a couple of things. Like, let's say you've increased your
first like 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah,
you might see things continue to go up, but it does stall, and then all you're doing is you're fighting for every single one of those reps not to drop down. So
well, that's the difference, isn't it? You're fighting to maintain, and I would say it's harder than trying to get stronger sometimes, because it's because the easy thing is, I need to back off a bit. No, you might start losing muscle. Just don't do a Ronnie Coleman and do a 3-rep max 1 week out from the Olympia. But that's my take on it. But I think we've covered
it. You've changed my opinion on that, actually, with what you've said there. You are completely right. Like, the further into a deficit that you get, the longer you're in a deficit you get, the weaker you get. However, I think a lot of people use the fact they're in a deficit to just bitch out of training. Like, as I said, I have dieted now for 30 weeks. Like, on some of the exercises with machines, I've been able to maintain like 95% of my performance, because on those exercises, I am not fucking dropping a rep. I am not dropping this weight back down. I refuse to do so. And that's why I've been able to maintain as much muscle mass as I have when I've been in a deficit for 30 weeks.
But that's the thing. You've trained for a very, a decent, you've got a lot of training years behind you. You've sort of bringing it all together in that 30 weeks. But if you think of, I don't know, someone that's trying to be big and strong, but a bit lean as well. I'm thinking of that context. That's 30 weeks of the year you haven't spent gaining muscle, gaining strength. You've maintained what you've got together. And, that's perfectly fine. For some people, I'd say you need to do that. That's like, for you have to, because you're on stage. But for, say, someone who's, maybe a little bit tubby, that is the best way. You have to do that. That's fine. Whereas if you are concerned about what you deadlift, if you are concerned about what you squat, and you want to look good at the same time, then you need to build that. You can't do it in a deficit.
Periodize it. So spend periods of time. Like, so I think with some of your guys out of lockdown, you were doing things like mini cuts and stuff, weren't you? So going short, sharp, aggressive.
We're doing cuts because we can't get strong. Like, they didn't have access to weights, to top end strength, and it definitely set them up for big PBs coming out of lockdown. Absolutely. But mini cuts are, you've done one. I think they're fantastic for resetting the body quickly to get back into. But the whole point of a mini cut is to get the weight off, to go back into gaining as fast as possible. It's not to be lean. I mean, it is, but it's almost like, I imagine like a slingshot, like you're pulling that bit back. It's like the artery, and then you let go to get big and strong again, right? It's
Yeah.
not a quick fix of a 6-week fat loss thing. It's a different thing entirely. But yeah, no,
I
I
think
did
people have
loads
to
of that. Yeah.
go through the longer fat loss first. I never do mini cuts with people who've never done like a slow and steady diet before, just because I think it messes with them up here.
Yeah.
So I will always do like a slow and steady diet, then go into a long building phase of at least twice as long as they were dieting. And then if they've put that fat on, I'll then give them the option, right? You can either do a 12 to 16 week dieting phase again, or we could do this thing, which is called a mini cut. Now, this is going to be aggressive. This is going to be uncomfortable, and you are not going to enjoy this. However, this is how it works. So we can go short, sharp.
You just quoted 300, didn't you?
I did, yes.
Yes, I am not your king. You won't enjoy this.
I really, you know what? One of my clients was like, I watched 300 the other day and I've listened to this book about Spartans. I was like, okay, and I've started listening to it and I can't put it down, but that's a different story.
It's amazing. It's a good film. But yeah, no, when you said that, I was like, I know that line.
But yeah, basically they can then choose. And what I'll normally do is a semi-aggressive, like 4 to 6 weeks, pull like 5 to 6 kilos off them very, very quickly. And then we go back into a building phase before we do like a long cut when I'm going to say, right, let's get you down for a photo shoot. Because I took my first client for a photo shoot 2 weeks ago now. That was really fun. I want to do more of those. So if anybody's listening and like you want to get into photo shoot shape, like that's something I'm going to be doing more of in 2022, is going through the process of getting people into like best shape of their lives, like level of shape. So yeah, bit of a selfless plug there.
Sure.
No worries, dude. Right. I think that is, let me just check. I think that's all the questions. It is. So it's been great to catch up with you, mate. I should be around next week. We should be having a bit of a chat next week, and I'll be like 3 days out then. So if I'm grumpy, actually no, I won't be, because I should have extra food in my system by then. So, and we could do a bit of a recap after my comp on the 7th if you want.
Mate, I've got to go, mate. When the kids are screaming.
No worries. Right.
Take care, buddy.
No problem. See you later. Bye.
See you, dude. Bye. Have a good one.